What is up, good people? Welcome to Excellence Personified with Elijah L. Harris. I am him, Mr. Elijah L. Harris himself. Man, thank you for taking the time to join me. I absolutely appreciate it, each and every one of you, each and every time. If it's your first time tapping in and joining me, welcome to my excellence community, as I like to call it. You are more than welcome to stay and kick it however long you want. Around here, we uplift, we inspire, and we push you to ignite the excellence that's already living in you. We already know it. I already know it. It's just a matter of you believing it and living in it. And we talk about that, from a realistic point of view and just what it looks like, what it feels like to live an excellent lifestyle. Not perfect, but excellent nonetheless. I'm gonna get right in. I'm super excited about this one. I got one of my brothers I'm gonna talk to. We're gonna get to know him a little bit more, dive into how he's impacting the community. But before we get to that, like I do with all of my other episodes, I'm gonna let you know how I'm feeling mentally, emotionally. Do a quick check-in on a scale of 1 to 10. Where am I at? Well, as we record this, this is 2 days removed from election day. And so, unless you've been living under all of the rocks on the face of the earth, you already know how that went down. Um, for better or for worse, wherever you fall in the midst of all that, don't really matter to me. However, I did want to call it out because I feel some type of way about it, just a tad. And I do think it has impacted me a little bit this week. So if I had to give a number, I would say I'm probably at a smooth 6.5, 6.5, 7. Not just because of the election. I think life has just kind of been heavy right now. So I was carrying some of that. And then, going into the election, I felt like it was going to go a certain way and it didn't. So it is what it is. Um, but I just wanted to acknowledge that, one, because I'm going through that and just, processing it. And I know a lot of us out here in the community are processing it. Do not feel like your feelings are any less than, don't matter. Embrace them, process them, and let them be what they are. I am also one to say, like, God is the ruler of all things, and everything's going to be all right if we follow God. I believe that. However, I don't want to misconstrue it to say that, like, just because God is in control, that how you feel about where we're moving, in at least in this country and in the world, don't make it feel like that's like your uncomfort, your discomfort there is any less than. Right? I don't want to diminish any feelings just because God is in control. It can be both ways, right? Because we are still living and breathing on this earth, and we want to be as comfortable as we possibly can, all while we follow God. So all those things are true, but yeah, but I'm processing it just like any and everybody else is, with a girlfriend, with a daughter. I grew up with women, so just like it's there's layers to it, I think, for me. So but I'm working through it. I know a lot of us are, but we continue to push, and that's the one thing I've been trying to remind myself of too. Is that, like, although the election did what it did, I still have a point and a purpose of being here and how I'm gonna move forward and why I'm gonna move forward, and that doesn't change regardless of who's president. Don't let the president, whoever's sitting in that seat, have any more power over you than they already have over this entire country. They don't deserve that type of power. So that's that on that. I'm gonna let that slide, and we're gonna continue to move forward. Um, all right. Joining me on Excellence Personified is my brother, a community leader, activist, if you will, man of the people, coach, member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Mr. Devin Garrett, founder, CEO of Doubted Success. Welcome to Excellence Personified, my brother.
Appreciate you for having me, man. Definitely a blessing to be here. Shout out to you for your platform and all you've created thus far. May God continue to use you as a vessel, as a voice, as a platform for exposure. Exposure leads to expansion, not only physically but mentally, so and emotionally, as you just discussed. So glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
For sure, for sure. My show is early. I'm pretty young with it. But when I made a list of people that I wanted to have on, you were on there.
Appreciate it.
So I'm here to shine a light on you too. But yeah, so as we get into it, I want to start off with something that's pretty high level, pretty easy, right? Um, so for anybody who knows me historically, I love music, right? And I'm big into Christian music, big into Christian hip hop. And sometimes I like to share my music because I think, people might appreciate it, people might like it. You feel what I'm saying? And so one of these days, I happen to drop a song, in our chat, that we share as a part of our, the chapter chat. You feel me? I'm like, yeah, let me drop this in the chat. I'm feeling it. I might uplift some people, and so I dropped it in the chat. I was like, bam, take this, bump it on the way to work and roll with it. Um, my guy here, he has something to say about that song, and if I remember correctly, it was a Christian hip hop song. He was like, this is like kids bop but for adults. And I was like, I mean, I guess, but he was trying to slide me a little bit, but it's okay. It's okay. It is what it is. I'm used to it. But what I wanted to ask you, Mr. Devin, is what's playing on your playlist right now? What you bumping? What are you bumping these days to get your mind right?
You know, first I want to address that. I mean, it was like I wasn't necessarily like to play on the genre. It just was one of those like I really feel like I could press play on Kids Bop back in the day or Disney Channel and your top 10 and they remix the vulgar songs and make them appropriate. But nah, all good, all love it. Now I think over the time and actually today I know kid you not. Today I was listening. I was in the gym and I was like, my transition to music or of music from the loud, the bumping, the get you going, the rah rah has really transitioned because I don't appreciate that as much. Of course, you have moods and times where you want to listen to certain things, but for the most part, I mean, I would still say hip hop is on the list, but a lot more slower hip hop, things that are actually talking about something, some stories. But I'm not gonna lie to you, No Cap is my favorite artist. So No Cap right now for a
Okay.
while has been my favorite artist. I'm gonna take my little brother to a concert. Um, that's something that we'll really enjoy together. I just think the lyrics and the stories, although most of them are not relatable to me, they make sense. And when you're saying certain words and you got certain bars, and kind of like Wayne. Wayne's the best lyricist to have lived, if you ask me. I mean, it's just one of those people is undeniable. Just the skill, and the what do you call it, the diction and syntax, the order, and when which they use the words and all that. So, that's what's on my list right now.
That's what's up. Yeah, and as you say that, I can tie those artists and like that flow directly to you and kind of how you move and just trying to make life realistic for people
Yeah,
and just kind of pour into people, uplift people and stuff like that. Um, you mentioned your brother. I I know you. I don't know a whole lot about your family
yeah,
and where you come from and just like who made you Devin.
yeah,
Tell me more about where you come from, your peoples, and
yeah,
kind of how that poured into you and who you are now.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm born and raised in Prince George's County, Maryland. I have three siblings, two brothers, one sister. On my mom's side, I have a set of twins, brother and sister, and then my dad's side, I have a brother. So
Okay.
fun fact, like if people ask me at work or whatever setting I'm in, they're like, "What's a fun fact about you?" I'm like, "I don't really know the fun fact," but one I throw out there is like I have three siblings. They're all the same age, but they're not triplets. And then people go, "What? Like, what do you mean? How does that work?" So then I explain to them, they're 6 months apart. My mom had the twins first, and then my dad, separate from that, had my brother, so forth and so on. But grew up in PG County, Maryland. Born and raised there. Moved around a lot when I was younger. Different schools, different environments. Predominantly black though. All schools up until high school. I'm one of 13, I think 12 or 13 first cousins. So we had those cousin sleepovers. Those, if you come down in the basement, you gonna fall and trip if you don't turn the light on. You better high knees in there because there's a lot of sleeping bags, a lot of pillows on the floor. Just a lot of people my age, but grew up playing basketball. Been an athlete all my life. Played at the collegiate level. Had the opportunity to play at the next level, but decided to work. But family wise, predominantly um, live with my mom. Have a relationship with my dad, of course. He's around and he's been a part of my life, and I just think that for me, just the trials and to see the different environments that I've been in, the people that are around me, the situations that I may encounter, I think just ultimately just seeing how, regardless, I've never wanted for anything, regardless of my mom's situation, financially, whatever the case may be, I've never wanted for anything. And so to see, a woman go through that, to see my brother, um, on my dad's side, the things that he's gone through, and to be standing here today, it's just amazing. I just, I thank God for the opportunities that I've been given, the family and the support that I've been given, and the family and support that I might not have. I think that the things that we gain in this life are based on our experiences. And you got to look at it from, did I learn who I wanted to be from what you did or what you didn't do, or both? And I think it's really both. And, from my parents' standpoint and how I was raised, I learned who I wanted to be from both what I did like and what I didn't like. And so ultimately, I feel like we know right from wrong, regardless of our situations and our circumstances growing up. So, it's our job and our duty to take control of our life. So I might be going off topic, but that's just kind of the mentality that I carry. And of course, I'm not perfect. I'd say that right now, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. But at the end of the day, I'm striving. I'm striving to thrive, really. And that's just doing my best in spite of what's happening, in spite of my environment, what's going on around me. So definitely a testament to how I grew up and being an athlete and just, being a sponge and being able to relate to a lot of people and also empathize if I can't relate, and then be able to make my decisions and where I go from there.
Even that last part you just said about like being able to empathize and connect with people through their struggles and what
Yeah.
they might be going through. That's a certain level of maturity that we hope people can get to in order to be a leader. So let me tap into that story a little bit. Like as you think back on the dynamic with your parents and like growing up in that household and just like growing up in general, what did it take for you to start to see or realize what you needed to take from that situation to make you better and
Mm.
also what you needed to learn from at the same time? Like when did it start to hit you a little bit? Like I know I experienced this, I saw this, but like I really want to be here,
Yeah.
and vice versa. Like how did that start to like kind of land for you?
I think, when you grow up in a household, it's do as I say, not as I do, right? I mean, that's the household I grew up in. I don't know everyone else, but
Hmm.
that's what it is. And you don't have an opinion. You don't have, for lack of a better term, feelings. Like, and
Yeah.
that's in a way how it felt. Like your feelings don't matter. At the end of the day, you need to do what was told of you, regardless whether you agree or not. And some of that stuff at the end of the day, like later years down the line, you see, okay, makes sense. And to be honest with you, tough love was how I grew up. It was, you scored 30 points in the game. All right, do it again. Like there was no
Right.
time to sit and celebrate.
Yeah.
So, some of that has rubbed off on me. It was, you get down, get up, you be all right. And so it's that has shaped me to just be mentally tough. But the emotional part is the biggest part, right? Because
Mhm.
we as black men, we carry a lot on our shoulders, and just from birth, at birth, and up to us how we navigate that. And I think for me, when it hit, was having disagreements with my mom, and understanding that regardless how I felt, there wasn't going to be a change. And if there was going to be a change, it was going to be on her timing. Or same thing with my father. If there was going to be a change, it's going to be on their timing. So as I had certain conversations through different avenues, writing letters, texts, emails, like just trying anything to like hear someone's cry, like hear my cry, like hear where I'm coming from. It got to a point where I realized, through high school, that's what I was battling. And then when my first year in college was like, okay, this was the best thing that could have happened for me, because that separation from realizing how I feel when I'm up under somebody else's roof versus how I feel when I have that freedom. And I think that regardless of whether my agreements or disagreements, it prepared me and ultimately to understand that people are going to be who they're going to be, and I'm not going to change them. And the moment you stop trying to change somebody and you just voice what you voice and you put that on the table and they make their decision based on what you said, you got to roll with that. Like, you got to take it's true. When somebody shows you who they are, you have to believe them. And so once I understood that, I think that lifted a lot of the, I don't even know if the burden, but like, just you can't take things personally. And I don't know where I heard this, but I was just talking about this, like, taking things personally will like kill you. Like, it will kill your mood, your emotions, your mental, because you're constantly thinking about, oh, this person did that or that person did this, how they make me feel, and this, that, and the third. It can really just kill your spirit. And so, yeah, I think at that point, probably between high school, just dealing with all of that, having to grow up faster, having to be responsible for my younger siblings, driving them to school, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, it was ultimately shaped me into who I am today. Like, just giving me those opportunities to grow up, to be independent, to be mature. So yeah,
Well, I I can relate to a lot of what you're saying. But first, I commend you for taking that, being able to see the forest from the trees and take that as an opportunity to grow, to mature, and to elevate yourself to be able to handle those situations. Because there's a lot of people that's twice our age that's still trying to handle some of them situations because they didn't really know how and they never really matured to be able to do it. You took it as an opportunity to even like just to be able to survive for yourself, but then also be able to support your siblings and just like navigate that yeah, to your point, just like you said, that ultimately made you who you are. What are those relationships like now, like with your mom or with your dad to this point now? Like, are you guys in a better place where you can like communicate better and like kind of walk that walk, um just as you went through like young adulthood and where you are now? Like, how did that evolve?
yeah. I mean, I think there's been valleys and peaks. There's that's that thing that's constant. One thing is
Yeah.
constant is change, and some days are better than others. But ultimately, I don't have any issues. I've made peace with whatever disagreements that I may have. My life is peaceful. Like, I refuse to allow anything, parents, job, work situations, deteriorate that. And I think, internally, ultimately, that's my goal, is to be at peace. What does peace look like? That means having a difficult conversation and putting it on the table. So I would say those relationships are good. I mean, they understand, where I'm at, how I feel, as a man. And ultimately, those are my parents, so I gotta respect that. I respect them regardless. Respect still remains number one. Out of anything, there's no disrespecting them and who they are and what they've done, regardless of whether I agree how they acted, used to do, currently. But at the end of the day, I'm just blessed to have parents. Blessed to
Yeah.
have them both in my life.
Yeah.
Blessed to have all grandparents in my life. Like, that's not something that many people can say. And unfortunately, it's not something that my younger brother can say. He lost his mother a year and some change ago, around my birthday of last year. And, that was, man, still when I talk about that situation and having to navigate that, and not, you don't know what to say. You don't
Yeah.
you don't know what to tell a 16-year-old, nothing, and you have to be the one to tell them. You don't.
Yeah.
It just kind of, it makes me appreciate the relationship that I do and I did build with him prior to that. Because imagine not being on good terms, or imagine not being able to be in that space to support him. And you know, I love all my siblings equally, and you know, then when I say equally, like, every situation, every relationship is different.
Yeah,
But to be able to be there and support them, that's all I wanted to do. And actually moving back to Maryland, I got to see all my siblings in high school because I was always in school. I was in college
that's right.
and I was
Yeah,
moving around. I've moved around a lot since college. And so I haven't really been able to be here, but it was always important for me to build that relationship when I was younger and I was in high school. It was like, look, I don't care whose parents, who birthed who, this is a family, it's us four. If you need something, it got to a point where I didn't even know, but I was at school and I found out like months later they had a sleepover when I was gone. And I was like, when I heard that, I said, yeah, that's love right
that's
there.
what's
So
up.
yeah,
So I love that. I love that. And now family is priceless, regardless of how it's put together. Um,
yeah,
I mentioned that I can relate to some of that stuff. I grew up with my mom and my sister. We each have different dads, and my relationship with my dad is one thing, and her relationship with her dad is another thing. And my relationship with her dad is another thing. So it's complex, you know. But as we grow up, we get a certain view of how we're raised, a view of our
yeah,
parents, especially as we become adults. And I think it starts to shift some things, and they start to look at you a little
does it?
differently, and you look at them a little differently, and then you gotta, as adults, have those conversations.
Yeah,
And it's tough. It's tough,
I'm
but
sure.
that's the evolution of those relationships. Like once you get to that point, it's like, all right, well, it was cool back then. You could tell me what to do, and just like I was just gonna roll with it. But now
Yeah,
I got feelings, I got thoughts. I'm grown. Like, what we gonna do?
yeah,
You know?
yeah. And,
But
and when you start to develop those things and those experiences on your own, like realizing after all this time, and my mom a single parent, like who was I to tell her that she did anything wrong with three
right,
kids in the house
yeah,
and practice school in the morning, practice for all three afterwards, have to cook afterwards, have to do man, look,
nothing.
you did what you could,
Yep.
and look at us. So
And
I
you
appreciate
always
that
had what you needed. You know,
for sure,
roof over your head,
for
whatever,
sure that
shoes for basketball, like travel
yeah,
basketball, like all that stuff. I get it.
yeah,
I get
yeah,
it. Um, but yeah, but you mentioned basketball before too. Like, um, I knew that you was a hooper. I didn't know that you had an opportunity to go pro. I didn't know
yeah.
that.
So
But yeah, tell me about basketball, the impact it had on you, and yeah, just your story with it.
yeah, so I mean, just the basketball in general, it kept me busy. I'm sure it kept me out of a lot of trouble. Obviously, I can't anticipate what that would look like because I wasn't in that. I was always playing a sport. I played basketball up until middle high school. I played basketball, football, baseball, and lacrosse. So pretty
Cross,
much
okay.
every season I was moving, I was working, but basketball was something that I stuck with. And I played from the age of 8. Got good, I guess, later in elementary school, then middle school, and in high school. Kind of peaked my sophomore year, playing with other guys who were better, and that's how I really got better. I didn't really get better during the high school season. I got better at AAU because everyone's their best. Everyone, most of the time, you're the best player or one of the best players at your high school. But when it comes to travel and AAU, y'all all superstars coming together. And so now you got an all-star team that you got to beat out. And especially when you're transferring from different team to different team, you got to prove yourself. So spent my freshman year in a team in Baltimore called Baltimore Elite, and has had a good year that year. And then I left from there and went to a team called Dynamic Disciples. And I was just coming off an injury. My coach from my younger years, he got me put on the team, and it was it was like, dang, this is the first time I come off the bench. Like but I was injured at the time, so I'm like, all right, whatever. And got the opportunity to play, like kind of like trash minutes, you can call it. But it was the first game, my first tournament that I played with them. I think I may have scored like 6 points and hit the like halftime buzzer beater. I played the rest of the game, and that was all she wrote. Like it was one of those things where you got to take advantage of your opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, and so that just led to more progress. Opportunity to play in college. I played in college at two different schools. I graduated and had the opportunity to play overseas, but I decided not to. I decided to start working. So I had a few injuries in college. I redshirted my junior year, so my official junior year. I tore my labrum in my hip, so I had surgery on that. Had to sit out, but that summer that I transferred was the best summer I had. I mean, that was one of those things where I was doing things that I couldn't even believe, but it felt natural. It felt normal. And like I had people coming to me like, are you good? Like, like I know I seen you hoop, but like this is
This is different.
yeah, this is different. And like I felt different. I mean, the hours that I was putting in was different. I mean, when you have talent and you're not given the opportunity to show it,
Yeah.
and especially when you spend all summer and you're working towards something and you're not given that opportunity because guys are in front of you, or coach college is way different than high school. It's
Oh yeah.
that's their livelihood. They're
Yeah.
getting paid, and most are getting paid a decent salary. Some have history, some have won, and so when you're at a program that's a winning program, and there's already mold, and you thought you fit the mold, and your first collegiate game, you have 16-10, and your coach tells you, "Oh, we got a lot to work on."
Like what?
That's the first thing you say when you come to the locker room. It's like,
You
all
looking at him
right, like
crazy?
you don't even know what to respond to that because you thinking as a freshman, that's my first game. I'm like, all
Talk
right,
about.
that's cool, yeah. And granted, this is a scrimmage, but it was game like, and but I realized what that looked like afterwards. And as I tell my little brother right now, who's looking to receive offers and go to the next level, is you got to be undeniably that person at all times. There can't be any gaps in your game. You can't allow any possession to go wasted. And so I was that person who had a switch even in high school, on and off, on and off. Yeah, I scored 1,000 points, but it should have been 500 more than what I scored. So it was something that I realized about myself, and where that was that junior year, that transfer that about to be my upcoming junior year. I was like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. But the injury kind of set me back, and I never got to my prime again. So I still had the opportunity, I still had the skills, still had the gift, but my body was talking to me, so I said, let me go make some money.
Respect
So
it. That's real. That part that you said about having a switch, that's one of them transferable things or skills or lack thereof maybe that follows you probably from the court to life to relationships to just about anything that you
for
commit
sure,
yourself to or try to. You realize, oh
yeah,
man, I gotta switch. I decided to turn it off sometimes. And then you gotta check yourself and be like, all right, hold on a second. Why do I do
yeah,
this? You know?
yeah, for sure.
And sports will show you that sometimes.
For sure. And if you sit right on that bench,
Yeah,
regardless.
yeah.
So,
Look at the consequences.
yeah,
So when I met you, I had graduated from Salisbury at this point, but you venture to Salisbury and you become a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, right?
correct.
Um,
A mob.
Go Mob, of course. What what drew you to Sigma at that time, and what have you since learned about yourself from being a member? Because I can sit and tell you my perspective and just kind of, let you know what I see in you. But what have you learned about yourself and what drew you to Sigma in the first place?
Man, just completely honest, I had no interest in being in a fraternity at all when I got to school. I see my first probate my freshman year at my previous school, and it just so happened that one of my best friends, his twin brother, was a Sigma. And we were walking
Mhm.
on campus one day, and he crossed at Elon, and he was spitting Invictus. Like I
Oh
forgot how
wow.
we got to that, And I had acted before in high school. Like I had done a few plays actually. So I know what memorizing lines were, but it was something about the way he was spitting, and then just the way that he was talking. I'm like, bro, this is a little too sharp. Like I know this. You didn't just learn this last night. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you've been crossed a while ago. So that was just my first encounter with Sigma, and then um, crazy enough, me and him happened to be going transferring to Salisbury the same year. So he got with bros on campus, and he kept telling me to go to interest meeting. So I think I just was like, all right, whatever, I'll go. But I didn't go to the first one, but I went to the second one. And so that's where I met Kazan. And so after the interest meeting, had a conversation with Kazan. Wasn't even about Sigma. Like it was about enterprise and internship opportunities and the jobs. And I had realized when I was looking at the room, I was like, oh, these are people are Sigmas. Like I didn't realize that they were Sigmas. They were just like regular people, like genuine folks.
Hmm.
And so for me, just being a genuine person was enough for me
Yeah.
because I saw the brotherhood, but I also saw that there was no forced to join an organization. It was just all we're personable people and just real guys. And so I don't do the rah rah. I don't do the extra talking. I don't like the gossip. I don't like the limelight. And Sigma just doesn't have a. I mean, you could say we're dancers. I guess. I guess that's the only stereotype or
Yeah.
whatever.
We don't have
But
a
like,
persona that's really
yeah,
tied to it.
there's no box to fit in.
Nah.
So that was that. And so almost coming up on for 5.5 years later, I'm here. But what I think it's done for me, it's just enhanced who I was. I don't think it really like changed me per se. I mean, being, going through the process and understanding, more about myself, definitely had its time and time value and understanding time and what to do with your time and how that's valuable and how you also not are just a representative of yourself, but now you're a representative of an organization. Like those are some things that I carry. Like I'm literally my face is on my brand. Like now
Yes,
today, like
sir.
that's on, and
Yes,
so like
sir.
it's not just me talking the talk, but I have to walk the walk and understand that what I do also affects my credibility to what I'm trying to build. But at the end of the day, I think that connecting those two, it enhanced who I am because regardless of what I stand for, or regardless of what brand that I have or what product that I'm putting out, at the end of the day, I'm going to be me. I'm not changing. I'm not going to be hit this on this side and then someone else on another. And I think that that is my ability to really understand who I am in any room that I step in. And so I think that it just enhanced my ability to be a servant leader, to be less selfish, to understand other people's perspective, but still remain firm in who I am and my beliefs, and just kind of along the lines of agree to disagree and understand when to leverage and how to empower others. And ultimately, just what I want to do is empower others to be better, empower others to change their own or take ownership and be responsible for their own life. So I really think Sigma just allowed me to enhance who I am, not necessarily change who I am, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
100%. And I'm sitting here thinking about like the story you told earlier about moving out and getting to a place where you had a little bit of freedom and then eventually coming somewhere where you were introduced and had a chance to encounter Sigma in order to amplify who you already were. Um, I'm thinking like, well, those two opportunities, they just kind of married and went together. And then Sigma kind of became one of those engines that just started to drive you, to push you forward and allow you
Yeah.
to really step into all of who you are. And you're continuing to do that. As I think about you as a leader, can you tell me, like, as you have become a Sigma and been a Sigma for some years now and further developed this leadership attitude and mentality, how does that transfer to young people and how you try to get them to kind of emulate what you were able to do and like see the value in themselves and start to walk in that and like uplift themselves internally first um in order to be able to execute externally, because that's what I'm hearing from you is like I started to realize like all that I carry, and then I started walking in it, and whatever came from it, the
Mhm.
positivity and the upliftment and the encouragement and all of that, that's just fruits of my labor. That's just fruits of who I am. How do you get young people to start to
Yeah.
see that in themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's well put. Like, just kind of going back, because I didn't even think of it like that when you said that all that I carry. Like, I knew I was involved in a lot. I was a student athlete. I was involved in this marketing program. I was involved in sales program and all these different things. But like subconsciously, I didn't even realize that. Now you kind of making me think about it. Is like
Yeah, bro.
I
Hmm.
still, and to this day, I carry a lot.
Hmm.
And, it's just one of those things because I've just always had a lot of responsibilities. It's just
Yeah.
normal. And so I kind of, it's interesting this question that you asked because I could be a little aggressive at times, and I've had to change and adapt that because for me it's solution. We're solution based. We're not thinking about the problem. We're not spending too much time on the negative, right? And when you come encounter young men and through mentorship, you got to meet them where they're at. You got to relate to them. You got to listen. You got to have certain conversations. You're building trust, and so once you build that trust, I mean, you get to see who those people are, who those individuals are, what situations that they're dealing with, and you get to cater to them individually, even while being in a group. And so I think that all of this has really just armed me with so much ammo to approach different situations um, in the best way that's going to better them and understand that it's not about me. And it's kind of crazy that we're talking about the fruits of our labor. I listening to church and I seen a clip on Instagram and he was like, pear trees don't eat the pears. The pears on the tree are not for the tree. The apples on the tree is not for the tree. The fruit is not for the tree. The tree gets the water. The fruit is for the people that are passing by. And so
True.
everything you ever get to a moment where you're spitting game and you feel like, dang, I just said a lot. Why can't I do that in my own situation?
Yeah.
Like who am I to
Yeah.
talk about and give someone else advice? And I got something that I'm and so oftentimes when I'm thinking about life coaching and I'm thinking about mentorship and I think about my age, I'm like, dang, how am I supposed to coach in life? And I ain't really been through too much
Hmm.
life. But the gift is not for me though.
Yeah.
And that's what I gotta understand is that the gift is for others.
Yeah.
And I have to master that to be able to internalize that and help others. So at the end of the day, the fruit is for everybody
Yeah.
else. The fruit is for those that I'm talking about. I get fed by the water and the soil, which ultimately gives me the power and the energy and the wisdom and all of that. So, and the good thing about it is when it rains, I get more of it.
Mm. Yes,
So
sir.
when it rains, they get more of it.
Yeah.
When we get forced with different situations, when we get challenged, in our life where we got to go get some knowledge or we got to go through a storm, we got to go through a season. All it is water in the tree, man. Water in the tree, so I can produce more fruit.
Now
So that's just kind of how I see
I'm
it.
really glad you laid it out like that too, because whoever's going to sit and listen to this or watch this, they're going to be able to sit and think like whatever it is that they're doing, the fruit that they're producing, just it's a cycle. And that visual people start to
Yeah,
see like, damn, I'm really good at this. Just let the water, let the sun, like
yeah,
let that power you to continue to produce fruit and just carry that gift. The other thing
yeah,
I want to say on top of that, because I've talked about this previously, um, is just the idea of feeling like you're capable or you're worthy of being able to be in that position. And I feel like I'm hearing you say like you you naturally do this because you grew up in it and that's just how you walk. But as you start to step into some of these positions and people start to look at you like, well, you supposed to have the answers. You got the answers, way. What's the answer? Um,
Yeah,
you're in
yeah,
that position for a reason, and you should be comfortable in it because you're worthy of it. If you weren't supposed to be there, you wouldn't be there. So let your gift shine, however bright and as bright as
mm,
possible, for everybody around you to be able to grab an apple and eat it. You feel me? So,
yeah,
and that's but that's like what for me personally, that's what I want for myself, number one. But for everybody who has a gift is to be able to use it and feel like I really have this gift. Like this isn't for fake. Like this isn't
yeah,
I'm not trying to be somebody that I'm not, or I'm not flexing for
for sure.
Instagram or any of that stuff. Like I actually have this. Use it.
Yeah,
Use it. You don't
yeah,
have to be you don't have to be Superman. You don't have to do anything that's like um high above and amazing or anything beyond what you have the ability to do that's right in your hands. Do it.
yeah.
You know, people
On
will catch that fruit and eat it.
when you talk about that, as you know, I interviewed. I had because you know I got a project coming up.
Yes,
We'll
sir. We're
talk
gonna get
about
to that
that.
too.
But I had we were talking about roles, right? Everyone's not going to be the 20-point scorer.
Mm,
Everyone's not going to put up those numbers. And so when you talk about being a team, she used it. Shout out my godmother, Dr. Hall. She used it as like because I was asking her, what if you're on that team and working, and you're not getting the playing time you need,
mm,
and you know that you belong? Are you supposed to roll out? Like, that's kind of how it was set up. And she was like, well, everybody in this life got to play a role. And so, and you also have to play a role to your ability. You can want to
mm.
run fast all your
Uh-huh.
life, but if you haven't been given the talent to run fast, you might need to try to master something else. And so it's okay. You just not gonna be
Yeah, it's
fast.
all
Like if you've been trying to run a 4.5 all your life and you keep getting 4.6, 4.7, and after 4 months you're going back to 4.8,
right.
you might need to try to javelin or something. Like you might not that might not be your track, might not be it for you, sprinting. So it's one of them things, and I want to acknowledge that is that you once you put the comparison aside and trying to be what society or what others perceive that's supposed to be the right thing, and you kind of let go of what the limelight and the glory behind it, and you just start doing what feels right. I mean, I've been blessed enough to not be in a position yet to where this is taking over for me monetarily. But the impact and the conversations I get to have, man, the conversations and the people that I meet through what I'm doing in the rooms that I get to be in, who do have the monetary, whatever. But that's not even what I'm looking
Yeah.
at. It's the wisdom. It's the words. It's the way you carry yourself. It's the dang, I didn't even know you were X, or I didn't know you had Y. Like it's it's next level, man. And I think that that's something that I'm continuing to, you know, we're in constant search of what we're called to be here for. And I'm hearing God's voice clearer, but I still haven't don't have it all figured out. And but the one thing about it is just get started. Just get moving. Move at your pace, but also allow that friction to move you a little faster. Sometimes when I first started, I wanted to have it all together, but nah. If I was waiting to have it all together, I wouldn't have
Yeah.
started. I would have never started.
Yeah.
I would have never started. And now I'm 4 years in, and I've got 3 things that I'm working on right now,
Sure enough.
and it's beautiful. The journey is tough, as you know. Even being able to come on camera and conduct an interview, all this stuff it's not sweet. Because after this, you got to edit, you got to do whatever, you got to post it, you got to worry about and this is just one
Yeah.
thing. We ain't talking about the other things that you deal with outside of this.
Facts.
So yeah, man, that's
Yeah, for
it.
sure. I'm glad you said that. That's something that like people hear a lot is like you just gotta start. You just gotta start and you gotta go.
Yeah,
But the more people hear that, the more somebody's gonna be listening, like, all right, I just gotta pick it up and go. I might be going slow, but I'm gonna
thanks.
work on it until I can go fast. Um, and
Hmm.
you're talking about, kind of feeling like you're in that sweet spot. You mentioned in basketball, you felt like you were in a sweet spot, like you were at the peak of your powers. in in a position where you knew you knew you could succeed. Um, you are the CEO and the founder of Doubted Success. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, explain what your program is and why you're so passionate about it, and what is the impact that you're making through Doubted Success.
Yeah, so Doubt of Success is a platform. It started from hearing conversations that African American men and women have about being disadvantaged, right? Being behind the eight ball, not given the same opportunities as others. And so I got tired of hearing that, right? A wise philanthropist, lifetime philanthropist, and mentor herself, Miss Laverne Chapman, told me, "Don't complain if you don't have a lane." And so once I heard that, I was like, "What? So if I'm complaining and I'm not doing anything to change my circumstance, what are we talking about?" And so we're forever going to complain because things aren't going to change, things aren't going to be handed to us. And so we are the author of our own life. We have to go outside of God, through God. We get to write our story, with His power. And so this platform is building a solid foundation, creating a space to be, and inspire those I'll never meet. And so it's really meant for me to be a curator, a connector, and a mentor. I had a podcast, pretty, for me at the time, was amateur, in my opinion. Just the quality wasn't good. The quality of the things and the conversations that we had and the people that I had on was great. But it did a disservice because the audio and the visual, wasn't up to par. But that was something that I started. And then also the Black Business Showcase I've been doing for the last 4 years. So this past July was year four. So me and my partner Marvin, CEO and founder of Talk to Me About Money clothing brand, we started this. We were like, hey, I want to see more Black people, Black businesses under one roof, connecting, fellowshipping, and making money together. And so we've been doing that. This year was the best turnout we had, the most attendees, participants, and we actually got featured by Fox DC this year. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where just when we thought we might have to pivot and do something else this summer, God was just kept us pushing forward, and we get interviewed. We get the biggest amount of turnout. Like, it's just one of the things. Just continue. It made me realize that, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so now, working on amplifying what I started in the podcast early on. Oh, before that, but I also have a mentorship program as well, with high schoolers. So that's something that I do. I'm very passionate about. It's called workmanship. So with young men, focused on the work. Everything requires work. Being a man, defining what that is, and then relationships. We know how relationships go, and if you don't, you're gonna find out.
Amen.
But relationships and our ability to
Yeah.
connect with people, both personally, business wise, platonic, um, you know, in a what's the word when you're
Oh,
together? I
romantic.
forgot that
Romantic.
type of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
romantic relationship. All of that is important. So your network equals your net worth. I truly believe that. It's been a testament to how I even got to this point. So yeah, it's multi-step. It's being a connector, that, and being a connector of, building that Black Business Showcase, mentor through my mentorship, and then a curator. So a curator of a podcast, creating a platform to provoke thought through conversation. Podcast is called No Doubt, which launches in January.
Yes, sir.
So if you haven't seen it already, you can follow me, my brand page at Doubted.Success. And then the podcast page is called No Doubt.DS. So Doubted Success is my umbrella, and I have a few things working underneath it. So that's pretty much in a nutshell, without taking too much of the time. I mean, that's me. Doubted Success is something, whether you doubt yourself or not, you're defining what that success is based on you. You get to say what's good or bad. You get to be the author, like I said, and creator of your life. So build a solid foundation, create a space to be, and inspire those you'll never meet.
Love that. And also, just from listening to you break it all the way down, there's many levels to this. Like there's the mentorship
Oh
level,
yeah,
there's the
yeah.
unity in business, especially in our community level, right? And
Hmm.
then no doubt is coming, and that that's kind of the from my perspective, that's kind of the glue in many ways, kind of to fill the gaps with those
Boy,
conversations, from people that are around you, maybe some people that aren't, but those conversations, they inspire and they get thoughts moving. It's like reading a book. You read a book for the first time,
I'm telling
you start reading books like, oh, it's a lot in these books. Start hearing some
you.
conversations and testimonies and different things like that. That's powerful stuff, bro. It's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I
When you,
can't wait.
yeah, man. When you find out something that you never thought you had heard, or you might find a piece to your puzzle on one of those,
Yeah.
and you might have found a piece to your puzzle on your show as well. So it's one of them things I'm passionate about. But this selection is like it's like lottery. It's like the draft pick. These are lottery picks right here, and I can't wait to expose them to the world and have everybody experience what I've got to experience already. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Do you, in terms of your motivation to even establish doubted success, do you feel like you're creating now what you might have wanted to have as a young man yourself, and being able to kind of grow in that program and have somebody to look up to and different things like that?
No, I think that I didn't even realize it at the time. Because for me, I feel like I've always had what I
Hmm.
needed. It wasn't until looking at our youth when I got older, it was like, if this is how we're thinking, if this is how someone my age is thinking, and now I get to hear my brothers and my sisters and their friends' conversations, and I'm like, oh man, we are short. Like it's looking real skinny for us out here. Like it just was something that I was like, yeah, I can't I can't take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I can't take it. So I had to be a beacon of change. And so yeah, I didn't even think about it because I also had good mentors.
Mhm.
My uncle was a pivotal person. He was like an older brother to
Yeah.
me and still is. And he actually is a feature. So to just have the people around me, and I feel like I was just unique in a way that I was gonna be good
Yeah.
regardless. And so I just carried that through. But of course, it would have been nice to have, but it wasn't something that I was thinking about back then.
Okay. Yeah, no, I definitely can relate to that. I mentioned earlier, kind of growing up with my mom and my sister. My mom took care of everything, and I never felt like I was missing anything. I didn't realize I might have been missing something until I got older and I started to quote unquote try to be a man and realized I was missing some
Mm.
pieces that, kind of pour and lead into manhood. And I'm like, hold on, I never really saw
Yeah,
this. I wasn't really taught this, navigating relationships
yeah.
and stuff like that. I didn't really see it
Hmm.
growing up. And so some things I probably learned the hard way that,
For sure.
not that everything is going to be sweet anyway, but I probably could have avoided some things, maybe, grew up a certain type of way a little bit differently. Back then, I just didn't know. I didn't know any better. I had everything that I needed, just like you said. But eventually I realized I was missing some things. And so my 20s
Yeah.
have been, you know, kind of crazy because of that. I've learned a lot of
Uh-huh.
things along the way. But yeah, but I appreciate you being in a position to help pour into people, especially our young men, especially our young men.
Mm.
My God, and give them a little bit of what
Yeah,
they
we
need.
gotta.
You feel me?
I mean, I think it's just embracing that. Like your 20s, I don't know how you feel about your 20s and your experience. And again, I can't say I know what it's like in a lot of people's shoes. But navigating through everything that I've been through that I feel is considered tough,
Hmm.
man, I wouldn't have it any other
Yeah.
way because it's creating that callous, it's creating that familiarity with learning. It's one of them things. It's not going to be sweet. You're not going to be the best at this. You're not always going to be able to thrive off your talent. You're going to have to go educate yourself. You're going to have to go put yourself in uncomfortable situations. But at the end of the day, though, too, for me and just my belief in God has my faith in God has I struggled with my faith for a while. I didn't understand certain things. I had questions. I was like, if this is this, then why is that? Man, you can't tell me based on the stuff that's happened in my life, you can't dismiss him from my life. You can't. You can't. So that's another thing too. That's got to be first. and I can tell when my relationship with him is not right because I start to feel different. So to talk about missing pieces, I start to feel and know that that's a missing piece. And so, yeah.
Anybody lead that for you? Like your relationship with God? Did anybody model that for you or put it in front of you at some point in time?
Yeah, I mean, my grandfather's a pastor. I grew up in the church. Sunday school, boy, was it long. From 7 to 2, I'm in the church. If I'm over their house, and if you over grandma and grandpa's house, and you in that house, you
Yeah.
going to church. Ain't no way you're not
Oh
going to
yeah.
church. So that was it. But it never truly clicked for me until I established a relationship on my own. I think I was grateful for being introduced to it, but I was also grateful and luckily I was able to turn back to it before it was too late. But I walked away from it for a
Yeah.
little bit. I tried to do things on my own because I had disagreements or confusion, and I didn't like the answers that I was receiving when I would go seek it.
Mm.
But I think the most important thing it says in the Bible is seek ye first the kingdom of God. So I have to seek it for myself.
Yeah.
I can't just allow a pastor to preach and think that that's just the end all be all. I got to go read the word myself and develop my relationship with God. Because just because I go to church don't mean I'm saved.
Man.
I seen a GIF or whatever you call it, GIF, whatever you call it. It was a church on a cliff, and people walking in and going
And
straight
falling
down.
right off the
So
cliff.
just because you go in and you're falling right off the cliff, just because you go in them doors, don't mean that you all right. So yeah, it's you got to establish that foundation yourself. And I was thankful to be introduced, but even more grateful for the opportunity to come back and seek ye first for myself.
So to swing it back to doubted success really quick, and the business showcase. One, is there another one upcoming? And two, um, if there are any small businesses out here, how can they get in touch with you and be a part of it? Or are you on the streets building those relationships and trying to bring people in? What does that look like?
Man, one thing about me is I want to put people on, and regardless whether I'm having something or not, someone else
Mhm.
is. And being in the space that I'm in, I get to have those conversations with other people, and I don't mind sending and filtering elsewhere. But yes, to answer your question, Black Business Showcase isn't going anywhere. Right now, it's every summer, but we're looking to increase the cadence to multiple times a year. That is something that's in conversation. But yeah, they can reach out to me via doubtedsuccess@gmail.com, or they can reach out to me on doubted.success on Instagram. So, yes, yes, and yes to all of that. I'm open. There's nothing that makes me feel better than seeing somebody else win and putting somebody else in a position, and maybe even putting them in a position or opportunity that I had, but they were able to run with it further because they're more prepared or they fit that mold, that skill. Like gatekeeping is not in my nature, and I don't I don't even want to go. That's a whole different topic for another episode. Gatekeeping is not it, man. So hey, if you're listening and you gatekeeping, close that
Hmm.
door. Stop. Open that door, matter of fact, and let some things in. Let some people be, man.
That, that's just counterproductive to to the world. Ain't no reason to be gatekeeping. Um,
It's too much. We can all
we
succeed.
can. This place is way bigger than it need to be. We all good. Um, I'm gonna close it out with this question, then I'll give you the opportunity to maybe show somebody or something some love. But the last question I'll ask you, so all right. When I made this show, I I was thinking about like how I wanted to create it, and I've kind of started to make it or develop it around kind of like the pivot and how they do their show, right? Like,
Mm.
it's really formally informal, deep but fun at the same time. That was kind of what I was going for. And their like spearhead question is, what is your biggest pivot? Um, when I interview people, when I interviewed people previously at work in my professional role, I basically asked that same question years ago. So I'm gonna bring it back. I used to ask people like, personally or professionally, what was that transformational experience for you that made you who you are? I would ask people that. I don't know if I was supposed to, but
Yeah,
I wanted to get to know who they actually were. So for
yeah.
you, what was what was that experience for you that drove your excellence and like put you in a position to shape you into the person that you are now? If I ask you that, what's the first thing that kind of comes to mind?
Well, I think the first thing is my mentality and my ability to my approach to things, and what I thought my mentality and how strong I was tested about a year ago, year and some change ago, and that experience alone and my attitude and my thought process towards things is how to win, but also how to lose. And I took a loss. I was forced with a decision to make between, switching jobs, finding another job, or taking a position that I didn't want. And I felt some way about it. I felt some way about it. I thought that I was done wrong, and there was just everything else but me, right? And Dr. Hall, again, godmother, she loved to put that mirror in your face. Love to put that mirror in your face and ask you questions that most conversations don't provide. And so it was tough. It was tough. I declined it at first, but then realized that nah, one, I need a job,
Mhm.
and two, I needed to better myself, and I needed to make myself an undeniable force, like I preached to my younger brother. And so that's actually something that I thought about when I was making my decision. I said, man, I can't go back home and just and be a hypocrite, right? And it wasn't just that for them; it's that for myself. So to answer your question is how to lose. I think it's cool to win, but how do you lose? And so over the last year, I've had to do a lot of tweaking to my mindset, a lot of tweaking to my attitude towards when things don't go my way, and especially when I don't get to be an advocate for myself, or where my character, there's a defamation of character that I don't get to represent. I don't get that opportunity to show up and say, hey, this is not who I am. Nah, this is not what happened. This is not even how it went down. So through my ability to say, all right, I'm going to show everybody what's up through this opportunity. And it took me 3, 4 months to get there. I'm looking for other jobs. I'm gone. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna be here. I get to sit here and I get to look at this situation. Cool. I'm applying. I'm good. But over time, it just became that nah, bro. Like you really got some work to do, and it's not just from a skill set standpoint. It's a mindset standpoint. So when you feel like you've arrived in life, humble. Talk about humble. Talk about God humbling. Talk about living in San Diego in a high rise in a luxury apartment at 24 years old, having whatever I want at, in San Diego, which is arguably one of the best places you can live in the country based on what other people said. I didn't know that till I got there. But I'm in California. I'm living up. Like I'm living. I got money in my pocket. I got car. I'm spoiled. You know what I'm saying? And I'm doing it at a level I never dreamed of. And so you imagine then leaving there and having my own crib, having a townhouse and this and backyard and put like I'm you can't tell me anything until you get that hey, you're gonna have to do this or find some another source of income. Wow. Really? Really? And so learning how to lose, man, and I'm blessed to say that God has shown me he's shown me his wrath
Yeah.
and allowed me to change my mentality. And so today, I stand in a whole different situation, a better space, better opportunity, not even in that position anymore. Been given the opportunity, been in rooms that I thought it was over for me to get back in those rooms. And so, yeah, man, it's how to lose. It's not just how you win, it's how you lose too, because at the end of the day, you can never really lose. It all depends on how you look at it. And so I didn't look at it well. But I can say now, I'm blessed to have the grace of God. And now I look at it way different. Doubted success. I doubted myself, I
Yeah.
guess. I doubted my own ability to turn it around because I definitely wasn't in a good headspace for a while.
Mhm.
For a while. So, hey, man,
That's real.
living proof.
That's real, bro. Um, that mirror work. You stand there and look at yourself in the mirror. What do you see? You see somebody that's
Mm-hmm.
flying above the clouds and, out of touch with reality, think that you bigger and better than who you actually are physically and not on the inside. You gotta come back to reality. But that's only gonna make you, and it has made you a better person, put you in position to be able to
Yeah.
really maximize your potential. Like you only could go but so far
Yeah.
in San Diego, right? Like everything was,
Mm-hmm.
you went about as far as you could, and that was it. And that's not what life had for you. After that, you just had to
Mm,
take it on the chin and learn it. But
for sure.
but yeah, bro, experience and testimony. Anybody or anything you want to shine some light, show some love to as an excellent spotlight? Anything come to mind? Anybody come to mind?
I don't have anyone in particular. I mean, I've talked about God, throughout this time, and I really think that I challenge those if you don't have a relationship with Him, to seek one. And there's no rush. There's no, I mean, it is depending on we don't know when He come back, but but no, like it's really just one of those things where I don't have anybody to shout out specifically, but I just hope that we all see the potential in ourselves. That we just look at us, right? Look at yourself. And I seen something from James Baldwin. James Baldwin, my guy. If you don't know who James Baldwin is, go tap into that history book because James Baldwin he's him. He's him. But he was like, walking down the street, you look at other people, you looking at you, meaning that you're looking at you and you could be them. Whatever circumstance that they're going through, whatever experience that you could be them. So just be grateful for being you, being grateful for another day to breathe, another breath in your body, the opportunity to be different, to make a change. Yesterday's yesterday. Tomorrow is not promised. So just be the best you and continue to live your life. Build, create, inspire
Devin Garrett,
that way.
Devin Garrett in the flesh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop all the socials in the description. Make sure you follow Devin, follow Doubted Success. Listen in, tap in, and no doubt at the top of the year is coming. I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you. I know it's only bigger and better from here,
Mm,
but as we've heard, you've already done a ton to get to this point. So thank you for coming on.
I appreciate it.
Um,
Nah.
until next time.
Real quick,
Oh,
let me give you your flowers real
oh,
quick. I don't ever want to bombard or take advantage of an opportunity to speak and share my story, but just to put the mirror back on
mm,
you. Put the mirror back on you and you look in that mirror before you lay your head on that pillow today and realize what you've done, the opportunities that you've got to got to you got the opportunity to do X or do Y. You're a father, so congratulations on
yes,
that.
sir.
There's a lot of absentee fathers out here. There's a lot of fathers who are lost, and whether that's you or not, being lost and confused, and just shout out to you for being present. Shout out to you for loving yours, and I appreciate that and see that from afar. So all that you have going on, this excellence personified, being a mentor and speaking. I just wish nothing but the best for you, and to God be the glory. It's His plan, it's His story that you get to live out. So I pray that shine and hope that there's endless light that lights up your path, and you figure out exactly what it is, what you're called here to do. So thank you for the opportunity and congratulations in advance.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that, man. Uh, I ain't know you was gonna flip it and
Yeah.
turn it on me. But I mean, ultimately, I just want to be able to see everybody shine their light as best and as bright as they possibly can in whatever space or facet of life
Hmm.
that is, man. Just walk it and talk it and be it and be bright in it. So
Yeah.
no, I appreciate you coming on again, Devin Garrett. Follow him. And until next time, peace, love, and joy. I'm gonna holla at y'all.
Moving around, moving around.